Is AI going to completely ruin creativity in the music industry? Let's talk about it. That time of day where we're done with this button. Sam, why are you qualified to talk about this topic? You may or may not know that while I'm an independent artist, I fund my art through my corporate tech job, where I have spent years in the AI space, speaking at conferences on this, working with clients on AI projects. So I actually have a lot to say on this topic. The first thing I'll say, I'm very bearish around AI in general. I feel that it's not coming to take over the world. It's still very much mimicking, in a word, and, trained on, and often not in a super intelligent way, statistical inference from large amounts of data. So if you think about ChatGPT, if you think about large language models in general, everyone's is a little bit different, but it's trained on petabytes and petabytes of English language data. So you have a lot of examples of sentences that say the sky is blank. It's probably most likely that it's been trained on examples where it says the sky is blue rather than the sky is Taco Tuesday, right? So there becomes drama and issues when you've trained your model on bad data, right? So, for example, there are some models that are trained on Reddit data, which may or may not have accurate information on there, right? It's user crowdsourced. And this can be bad, and we should keep in mind that, when you walk up to a human and ask them a question on the street too, it also may or may not be true and correct. So let's talk about AI and music. Now we have foundation models trained on music, and that can, have analyzed a lot of different songs or on images or videos and have been trained on different art. And so we run into this issue of things like copyright and plagiarism. Did the artist give permission to have their art be a part of the training of this model? So thus, when the model is creating something novel and it's using and pulling from that information, is it copyright infringement? Is it causing a problem? Some companies are doing a pretty good job of trying to figure out how do you actually use this as an opportunity to show that explainability, show that sourcing. How do you pay those artists for use of their music, of their art, of their images, of their royalties? And again, let's think about the human perspective. If I'm a painter and an artist and I've taken art history classes and studied art my entire life, that is playing a role in my brain when I'm, creating something new. And same as a musician. Then we're coming up with something and we might not even know that we've ripped someone else's melody or something that was in the back of our mind because we've heard it before. We, as humans, acquire language through statistical inference, and our creative process, I would assume, is very similar. Another way where AI can be relevant in the songwriting and music creation process is using it like a companion or a thesaurus. Personally, when I'm writing, I will use thesaurus.com or RhymeZone, and I'll look up, what are some 2-syllable words that rhyme with this. But I have yet to use a large language model to say, hey, what's a really great metaphor to describe this feeling or something like that? Because to me, I just want to keep something sacred about that creative process. But it doesn't feel like it's breaking the rule for me to use RhymeZone or thesaurus.com. So where's the line, right? Because essentially, the large language models are just streamlining that process and trained on the same data depending on the ones you use. I do feel pretty safe about using large language models and AI to help with things like music marketing ideas, coming up with copy, coming up with hashtag ideas. I think that those systems are much better at crunching the data and the numbers than I am, and that feels pretty safe to me. But I really stay away from it in creative work. That being said, when we think about the way that music is made and how it used to be made on tape in the studio and now everything's digital for the most part, some people do music production in different ways. There is a ton of AI in this process as well, and people make loops and people use digital MIDI instruments and people do auto-tune and Melodyne and their time flex and quantize, and people do all kinds of interesting other AI work really regularly in the music industry that I'm sure at those points in time, it was this huge rigmarole and huge snafu. And I would say those who have embraced the technology and have learned the new DAWs and learned to take advantage of those things have been rewarded. It was probably really controversial and a huge deal and a big issue at the time that a lot of these DAWs and the digital tool set for creating music was coming out, and has of course changed the music industry and the types of sounds that we make and the way that our music sounds. So where do we land? We don't want to get left behind. We don't want to be slow and behind the curve and become obsolete. And We want to make sure that we're preserving kind of the magic and the spark and the creativity that is making art and being creative. On the whole, AI systems are good at crunching large amounts of data and statistical inference, not genuine creativity. It begs the question, what is genuine creativity other than statistical inference? But I think as humans, we're in touch with our emotions. We have embodied cognition, meaning we're in touch with physiological things in the universe in a way that machines aren't able to do. So in the music industry, we're seeing a big aversion towards AI. On a lot of sync briefs that I get, I see, you have to flag if you've used AI. Personally, I think we don't have much to worry about in terms of AI creating music comparable to what humans make. I think the way that we bring our emotions into music just can't be emulated by a machine, at least right now. I don't think ever. But do people who make instrumental cues for ads have a right to be concerned? I think yes. I actually think that's an area where it could really easily be encroached upon by AI for those companies that are taking that on. I've also seen industry professionals saying they're super cool with AI demos and that, they're fine if folks want to write a song and then they want to use AI to make a demo for it really cheaply and quickly so that they can kind of market that song and, from a publishing perspective, bring that song around and try and sell it. So those are my thoughts as an independent artist who is also an AI industry thought leader. And I would love to know what you think. I think it's an ongoing conversation. It's an active area of research. I think maintaining things like transparency in how AI was used and explainability into how that model used the training data to arrive at a certain response where you're using AI is really important. It's also really important to think about the bias in the way that model was trained and what data within its training set it's been biased to bring to the front, because that's a big deal too, especially as these things are used more and more. But what do you think? Where should we draw the line? Does AI have any place in the music industry? And if so, what is it? And feel free to check out my music if you'd like. There's no AI involved at all. But as a neuroscience major, there are some references to some of these types of topics that are in the world that I live in. See if you can find them.